All right, Michelle, so what makes you feel the most vulnerable?
Most vulnerable that I feel is just whenever I think about how fast life is passing by, I think thinking about my aging parents, my kids, just the different phases. Like we get so sucked into the day to day, but we sometimes lose focus on how precious life is. And sometimes I feel like that's scary.
Our first guest.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Our first guest is Michelle Ranavat, and she is just an icon, I feel like. The first Ayurvedic skincare, hair care brand at Sephora.
Amazing.
We had such a good conversation about, I feel like we had such a good conversation between you and her about the Indian community and the impacts of that. And just her mindset around.
Her mindset is amazing.
Yes. Like, I was like, please rub off on me. Like,
Yeah.
her mindset and the way she structures her goals that she was talking about, I just feel was so powerful.
Definitely. And honestly, it was so refreshing because I hang out with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of brand founders all the time. And we are always kind of in this mindset where it's like that hustle mindset.
Yeah.
And we can't get rid of it. It just comes naturally. But speaking to her, I was almost like trying to see if she had any hustle mindset, but
She's so chill.
She's so chill.
She's like content and accepting of everything. And she's just like, and I'm like, I know that is like from all of the reading and the work that I've done on myself, I know that's like, that's the goal. Like that's the basis of like maintaining. I don't even want to use the term happiness. This is where I talked to you about this. I was talking about this with my fiance Jake the other day too. Like there are not, and Brene Brown, who is this incredible woman who does a lot of research in mental health, and she wrote this book, Atlas of the Heart, and she talks about how we don't have the vocabulary to express ourselves and express our emotions. And like the happiness is one of those where it's like happiness and joy is something that you want to experience, but like every single day to set the expectation of happiness or joy is kind of like too much. It's more like contentment and acceptance that gives you that peace.
That's true.
The peace.
But also just knowing that is happiness. Also just being peaceful,
but
right?
Like I want like another word of happiness.
Yeah.
Like I want a happiness 2.0 or something.
Or
Anyways,
redefining happiness is a whole.
Yeah, and I just feel like coming into this conversation, like I was telling Natasha, I did not sleep well last night. Like I've been trying to cut back on my THC use. It's helped me a lot in the past with my anxiety, and it can be helpful, but when it becomes like regular use, it actually increases my anxiety, and it's become a dependency, and there's withdrawal side effects of coming off of it. And I think a lot of people don't take THC that seriously. And there's not a lot of information about it either. And so I'm going through that right now. And like, I was up from like 3 to 6 with just like weird dreams and like not sleeping well. And so coming into this conversation, I just felt like so refreshed and
That's so good.
Lighter. I loved it so much. And I know you're in the midst of like running multiple businesses and like coming into this like I just feel like it kind of refreshes our energy.
Definitely. She was so inspiring because it made me think that, okay, yes, she obviously has gone through challenges. Everyone does. Like, you know, hearing a no, as comfortable as she sounded with, you know, hearing no for her accelerator program, it still hurts, right? It still is painful to hear no from anyone, but she just moved past it and was like, it's okay, something better. It's almost like something will come, come. That faith that she has in herself, or the less, I think more than just faith, actually, it's just like this, I don't know how to explain her vibe. It's just so chilled, like
peace.
It's peace.
She's so
That's
peaceful.
what it is.
Her
She's
energy
peaceful.
is so, I like being around her.
Yeah.
Like I could crave her energy. You know what I mean?
It
that
was
sounds
very
kind of creepy.
peaceful.
I'm not coming for you, Michelle, but like.
But really we are.
But anyways, I really hope you guys love this episode.
Yeah.
Like, let us know, honestly. Like, let us know what resonates with you. If there's any topics you want us to dig more into. There's no reason we couldn't have a guest back on.
Exactly. I was just going to say.
So let us know. Listen, enjoy. We're so excited to have our guest. And I guess we'll see you at the end. had to get a clapper. I just couldn't resist.
Gotta do it all.
After being in Sephora Studios for so long now, I swear I'm still excited by a clapper. We have to have our
I feel
own.
like that's a good sign.
We're trying to keep it super cozy and cute,
Yeah, I
like
love it.
pajama style vibes.
Yeah, I love it.
I know. I told them, I
this
was
one's
like,
red.
this is our first week of shooting, but I feel like as we go on, I'll probably be wearing less makeup. And
Yeah.
But I feel like it's still
it's
a
fun,
beauty
though.
podcast.
Yes, yes. Natasha, do you want to do the honors of the clapper?
Sure.
The first ever. Wait, let's capture the moment.
Clapper.
Hold on. I'll be.
Oh my God, how cute! Are you excited?
I'm so
for our
excited.
clapper.
It's beautiful. Okay. Ready? Let's see. Oh wait, I'm not filming. Okay, there we go.
I love how we have you doing the BTS. You should be in this.
No, this is great.
1, 2, 3. Action.
Well, welcome, Michelle. We're so excited to have you, and seriously, beyond that we were able to make this work with all of our schedules. So we really appreciate you.
No, it's my pleasure. I'm so excited to be here.
And we know you have so much to share and so much storytelling behind yourself and your brand and just your entire journey. So if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself and telling us all a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, of course. So Michelle Ranavat, founder of Ranavat. We are a skin and hair brand that I started back in 2017. And it was inspired by my postpartum hair loss. Mm-hmm. So what I use is just the power of Ayurveda and my background as an engineer and scientist to create the brand. But truly what I feel like has been eye-opening for me is just rediscovering and reconnecting with my roots and seeing how many other cultures also connect with these South Asian beauty secrets.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. Honestly, being Indian, I'm like, I'm so proud to see this. When I don't know, when I saw your brand just blow up everywhere, I was like, this is incredible. And then I met you, and then I just thought you were such a wonderful person. And look at you sending this message to everyone around the world and making brown people proud. I'm so happy.
Thank you. I mean, look at all of us. I feel like being in this space, like we're so passionate. And I think we're so lucky to be able to make a living doing something that we really care about.
Yeah.
And we're sharing culture, identity. We're sharing ourselves through beauty, which to me is such a powerful and, I don't know, just like soul-filling concept.
Yes. Oh, I got the chills when you said that. I so feel that. I feel like my main goal with everything that I get to do in the beauty industry is really bringing vulnerability to the forefront of this industry, because beauty should start from inside, no matter how it manifests on the outside. And I feel like your brand is really a beautiful example of that. But like, even before we jumped in, I feel like we were talking about your content and how you've been like developing and putting yourself out there as a founder, but also putting your struggles out there. And I know Natasha and I talk about this a lot, just around like digital boundaries, but specifically within the Indian community as well. And just how that has impacted you, Natasha.
Oh my gosh. I don't even, like, if I get into it, it's so much. I don't know if it's the same for you were you born and brought up in the US?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was born and brought up in Hong Kong. Fully Indian, but growing up in our culture, I'm Sindhi. What are you?
I'm Gujarati.
Okay, so for me, there are different types of Indian cultures.
No, please educate us.
Yeah, so how much more can okay, so Sindhis and Gujaratis. There's Sindhis, Gujaratis, Marwaris, Punjabis. There's a
tons
lot.
of us.
There's a lot.
Different.
And so within my community, I was always like the rebel, because I was the one that was doing makeup. I was traveling. I was, doing something that is not normal to our society. I was a girl that was working and traveling all around the world. I was married at a really young age, and then I got a divorce. So I got a lot of shit for it, honestly. And I was so scared to post and be vulnerable. That was something that was always like, I didn't want people to judge me. I don't know if you ever felt like that.
I think a lot of it comes from my mom, because she was and is just someone that has her own, point of view, and she's not afraid. Like anytime you go to a party, that all the people be like, "Oh, what are you wearing? What are you wearing?" She's like, "I wear what I want to wear," and I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Respect.
She's like, "I'm like, Mom, I think everyone's gonna be wearing American. Like, why are you gonna wear sari?" She's like, "I wear what I want to wear." So that's like her vibe, and I'm not 100% like that. But I think that infusing a bit of that confidence and that point of view was something that I felt impacted me. And then also, I was actually just talking about this with a colleague, like not afraid to ask questions. Like I've always felt like every time I've asked a question, the moment that I let go of like, someone's going to think it's a stupid question or you don't know, I actually realized a lot of my questions were really good. And maybe other people were thinking that. So now if I have a question, I'm not afraid to say. And so I think this idea of like, oh, am I going to look stupid? Am I going to be the only person wearing this? Those things don't really come to me. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm like above any type of judgment, but I really am very focused in my own lane. Yeah. And I'm not saying that things don't impact me, but I actually don't put them in my space. So like, you know, I just don't really do a lot of social media that I'm like following. Like I put what I want to put out there, and then that's really it. I'm not like, what did that person do? Where did they go this weekend? Did they get invited?
I'm big on that too lately.
I don't really do that.
It's so funny. I built my whole career in social media, and my fiance has a record label. Doesn't really need to be on social media. Like he's on the business side. He's on social media more than I am.
That's so funny.
Like,
really?
I go on to my accounts to post, to share, to connect here and there.
Yeah.
But outside of that, like I am not scrolling, I am not comparing. Like for my mental health, I know that it's not good, not just from like a comparison perspective, but also from like a digital boundaries screen in your face aspect. But that took me a while to figure out, like working on Sephora's social media team and
it's your job.
Seeing people who are the most beautiful come in front of the camera and still get eaten alive.
Yeah.
And so that really showed me and gave me the foundational strength to be like, oh, this isn't about me, this is about them, and create the boundaries I needed now. But like, did you always have that because of your mom, or is that something you had to work towards?
I think I always had it because of my mom, but I also, the things that I don't possess, meaning like, I know if I see someone being invited to something that was invited to, like, I mean, I know that it doesn't define me, but I think there's a human element that's like, you're going to care. So I just know that I don't really expose myself to that. And then I also have friends that I'm like, I could just either say if I feel a certain way and be done with it, or, you know, I just talk to my mom. Like, so I have people that I'll connect with if I do feel bad about something.
Yeah.
So I have a toolbox. And
That's
so
good.
It's not like, you know, the plan is you just never get affected. I think the plan is like you limit.
Yep.
And then there's like a certain space where it's like, okay, well, I couldn't limit myself. I saw these things. I feel bad. And then you talk to someone about it and you forget. You just remember, like, none of this defines you.
You know, it's so funny. When we met in India, this is what struck me when we had this conversation.
You two met
were
in India?
Yeah, that's why I'm perpetually confused about
and I told you, I was like, I live in LA. We should meet.
And then I'm between Nashville and LA.
Yeah,
You're just like, I'm sorry, who are you and where do you girls live?
And then I confused you with Helen for a minute there. So yeah, we're just
No, that's
all over the
okay.
place.
That's okay.
It's totally
I feel
fine.
you.
But we did meet
Yes.
at a beautiful event that was put together by our
insane.
friend Shibika from Papa Don't Preach, a beautiful designer.
Yes, she's amazing.
She's incredible.
She's a boss. I love her.
Shout out.
Epitome of boss is that woman.
She is. And you know what? The first thing that I noticed, sorry, I'm like interrupting you, but in that room, there were so many powerful women. And everyone just got up and talked about their vulnerabilities. And I was like, oh, this is so refreshing. Because it's like, you would think that someone is going to go up and talk about all the amazing things they did. And actually, people just talked about all the crazy crap that they've been through. And including when I see Shubhika, she's always the first person to be like, Michelle, I can't do this anymore. And I'm like, okay, let's talk each other off the ledge because I'm going to have the same conversation with you. Yeah. And I love that. And that's like, when I see that in someone, and obviously I see that in you guys too, it's like, that's a signal to me that that's someone that I want to spend time with, because you are a product of your environment. I think part of it is like, it's on us. Like if you feel like someone in your environment isn't making you feel good, then I'm not saying cut people out. I've never been a fan of that. I've never been a fan of just saying no and create about it. It's like, no, you find a way to work with everyone. You find a way to connect and be a part of anyone and everyone. Because I feel like I pride myself on that. I could be friends with anyone and I could connect. But there's a level, and you have to like make sure that you're very conscious about that.
That energy that you're around, you absorb. And I think there's a certain level of like protecting our energy that we can do, and those boundaries like you're talking about, but it's inevitable that like if you're around it, you're going to be absorbing some of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
For
smart.
sure. But vulnerability is everything, really. This me too. When I connect with someone, I feel like the perception of me is very different to the person that I am sometimes, even though I try to put it out there on social media.
Yeah, you've
right?
talked about this. Like, you feel like people kind of perceive you as like more diva-ish, like in a negative way, right?
Yeah. And then when they meet me, they're like,
so
"Oh,
nice.
you're so nice." But what? Oh no, wait. This is my favorite line. "Oh my God, you're actually nice."
Oh, people have said the weirdest things to me.
Like what?
"Oh, you're shorter than I thought," or "You're this than I thought." I'm like, what do you mean then I am who I am? Like, I don't know what you thought. Like, I guess that's fine, but that should be
like, why do you think
you don't
that?
need to say that?
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay. Sorry that either I didn't meet your expectation or I did or whatever, but it just is what it is.
Do those things affect you? Or do you know now how to just block it?
I mean, I think it's all about like shifting your focus, right? Like anything can affect anyone. And sometimes it depends on the time that happens. Like, let's say I was going through something and I don't know, whatever insecurity that I had come up, and then all of a sudden someone like says that to you and you're like, oh shit. Like you know, and that like reinforces the insecurity. Yeah, that probably is more painful than if you like literally someone says your hair is purple and you know that your hair is not purple. You're not going to give it any thought.
Right.
You just think it's so ludicrous.
Right. It's like facts.
Yeah. So I think that's like the more I like to kind of think about that way. It's like the more that I can think of, well, someone's saying something that's just their opinion. So if they think my hair is purple and I know that it's not, that's not going to affect me. I'm not going to go home and cry about that because I know for a fact what it is. But if I'm like, wait, isn't it purple? Like, wait a minute. Then I'm like, wait, did she see something that I didn't? And then you start like thinking something.
Yes.
So I feel like it all starts from like how confident you are about that thing that they're bringing out.
Yeah.
And the more you're like, that's ludicrous, the more it's going to just.
I feel like it sounds like you're this is something I struggle with. So I'm like picking it out of what you're saying and I admire it, is that you're very, I don't know if in control is the right way to say it, but you are very on the pulse of your thoughts and navigating them, because thoughts can become so intrusive, and I'm an overthinker and I will think and think and think on something and spiral out, and it will become a story that doesn't even exist based on information that was not even given. You know what I mean? And I think meditation has helped me a lot with that, because it's a practice of centering yourself and taking your thoughts out of your mind space. But you seem to have a really natural, innate ability to do that, and
I try.
amazing.
I mean, I definitely think it's been a process, but when you put yourself in the position of, you know, running a business, being on social media, all of the things that we all do every single day, you know, it's not easy.
Yeah.
And I do think that one of the things that I was born with randomly is like a bit of a stronger mindset. So I think that's like really helped, but it's been tested many times. So I think you only get stronger because you like fail and struggle.
Yeah, that's like resilience over time.
Yeah,
I hear you.
I mean, I wish I could think like that. I am the most insecure person. I've gotten a lot better, but my goodness, if someone says something negative to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I am horrible. I'm an evil person.
But you have to remember, like, someone's opinion isn't a fact. And I think that happened to me when I was a kid growing up. Like, I had no friends. Like, I think a lot of my things like started really early on because I was the only Indian person. Like, I was just like not confident in my ability to make friends. And so I had to like learn and put myself in different positions. So like performing Bollywood dance and making friends like after college. Like, there's so many things that have helped me over time to overcome those issues. But I think a lot of that, like for me, all those insecurities, oh, no one wants to hang out with me. Oh, you know, whatever. That was like early on as a kid. So I had to like find ways, and people would say things like, oh, you got your hair cut, you look like a boy. And I remember asking my teacher, I'm like, do I look like a boy? And she's like, well, what do you think you look like? I'm like, I don't know, I look like a girl. And she's like, okay, so why do you care? And I remember that was like in second grade. But
God bless her.
I was just going to say, what a great teacher.
Like, what do you
there's
think?
so many moments of that where teachers just completely shift people's perspectives. And it's like one word.
They have the opportunity.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I felt like those early years of being left out, different, finding my way, like that created like this inner strength and resilience that like if someone has an opinion, I always have to remember that's an opinion. If someone's like, someone told me, oh, well, Indian beauty, like that's never going to take off because people don't think Indian people, like everyone looks at Koreans for their skin. No one really thinks about Indian for skincare. They're like maybe their hair, but they're not aspirational. And I'm like, okay. And this was like someone in the beauty. And I know, first of all, we have like crazy culture of beauty.
Have you seen Indian?
The most beautiful woman in the world.
Yeah.
No, but so people would say stuff like that. And that's when I was like going back to my childhood and being like, that's an opinion. That's your opinion on what you might think, but that actually has nothing to do with the reality. So separating someone's opinion from a fact is like very important. And my mind is so logical. And maybe that's why I pursued engineering, and I'm very much into like the whole science background.
Yes.
And I'm just like, it just is or it isn't. And if you're going to have an opinion, that's your own opinion. That actually doesn't impact the reality of my business. That's just what you think about my business. That has nothing to do with the future of my business. You're not like, you don't have any impact on it.
I take it then you probably have never had very many people-pleasing tendencies.
I feel like I don't know. I think I do though. Cause I feel like as a founder of a company or like having employees, like my number one mode is just always thinking about like, is everyone happy? Like, am I doing right by them? First of all, you have to make sure that they get paid. So you have to have enough money to like make sure you're running your business intelligently to make sure that they can live their lives.
Yes.
I made an unconditional promise to them that I have to make sure that I, give them what I promised.
Yeah.
And so I always feel like there's a level of like humility. So I feel like I'm very much in the service industry, and I like that. I don't mind that at all. But I don't know if that's the same thing as people pleasing or not.
I feel like you just deeply care about the well-being of your staff.
Yeah, I do. I feel like, and the customer of like anyone that is, whether they buy something or not, like they're still part of our community. And I really feel like that's so important to me.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, if like a staff member or a client comes and they say something that is their opinion, you have that in your brain already, like, okay, this is just their opinion. This is one person. It's not necessarily a fact.
Yeah, I think that has happened over time. I still, if I read, like if someone wrote like some type of negative review, I do feel like that does bother me.
Yeah.
Someone would be like, but let me talk to you about it. And like, let's find out why that didn't work. And it's like, maybe it's just their opinion. They don't like the smell of it. Okay, great. Like that is literally an opinion. It's a subjective thing. But I don't know. I mean, I think you just get over it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I won't say I'm like way above and beyond, because if you care about what you're putting out there, then you're going to care about what someone says about it.
Yep,
so that
weird
is
you're
for
saying
sure
this.
there.
We just had this conversation. Literally, she said something like, oh, I love this product of yours. And I was like, this just makes my day. Like,
I was using your hero liner.
Yeah. And every time and I said, why is it that when anyone compliments it, it's like the best compliment of my life? My heart feels fulfilled. I'm like, it's almost like it's my child. Now you have children, right? So is it weird for me to compare my brand to your child?
I don't think so.
Do you do the same?
I do that with my cats sometimes,
do.
and I have to check myself. I'm like, they're cats, not children.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that, honestly.
That's all I wanted to hear.
I feel like putting love into something should never be negative.
Yeah.
It's just great. I mean, whatever you want to compare it to. Compare it to anything. It's love, right? It's the same ingredient. It's just putting it in different places in different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have 2 kids?
I have 2 kids, 2 boys.
My goodness. How old are they?
10 and 8.
Wow. You
They're
have
old
your
now.
hands
Yeah.
full.
Honestly, they're so easy now. My hands were full when I was starting the company, when they were like 2 and 6 months old.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
was like still working at the pharma company, which is my dad's company. And that's not like, you're working for your family. You're not going to like cut corners. And I mean, I don't think I would ever do that in general. Like if I'm employed somewhere, I'm going to do my best.
Very invested.
But I was like working all day, and then I would and all my products are sourced in India. So that actually helped me at that time, because at night I would start working.
Always on calls at night.
Yeah, so I would work
God
at
bless you
night.
both.
So but it was actually what helped me, because then I could do the 2 jobs at that time. So it was about like 9 months where I was doing both of those jobs and having the kids. And of course, like, we had help. I have my husband, but he was honestly super busy. So he was also like dealing with his career. And that was very important too, because, I wasn't, well, especially when I quit my dad's job, then there was like no income coming from that. So then we definitely needed to like make sure that he was supported. So yeah, it was just like a intense time, but it was really fun. I think like that's when I don't know, you're like seeing the first products and then you go through so many things and then you overcome them. And it's just like this whole journey that I look back on and I'm like so happy about it. But I know in the moments I probably wasn't.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it in retrospect or in the moment was it fun? Because
it wasn't.
It's not. Yeah, when you're going through, I don't know. Do you have any crazy stories of like entrepreneur stories that when malfunctions or product development situations?
You have one like every week.
I have one all.
I do. I know. I think I just block everything out of my head, so I'll have to think about it because I definitely have many problems.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, my brain puts them like really far back, and I have to like think.
Well,
like,
you compartmentalize so that you can free up the space to run your business and your life. Probably, it's right. Like it's like this happened. Okay, move on. And that's what you were talking about too. Like she is so good. We're co-founders. This is the first time we've been co-founders in our careers.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've started a business.
I don't know how
so
you guys do it.
a lot of tough conversations. Like even a couple weeks ago, having some tough, confrontational conversations. And I was like enamored by her ability to confront it very directly. But then like right after she was like, okay, we need to clear the energy. Yeah. And like she just got into such a clear and positive space. And I was like, wow. And that's something my fiance is going to watch this and he's going to be like, okay, yeah, rub off on Melinda. Because when we argue, like I have a hard time snapping out of it. Like I can like forgive and move on, but like my energy, my mood sticks around a little bit longer.
That's interesting.
And he's much more like you, where like he can kind of compartmentalize.
It's done is done.
Yes.
I just think you have to go
That's
back
my
to
thing
like,
too. I'm like, I don't have
that.
time to be upset. If we want to make this work, we make this work and move on.
I respect it.
We don't, and we call it,
fine.
you know what I mean? And
There's
it's okay,
no
and we're
big
going to be, the
No,
same
but
thing
you
with
can't
my
take it
fiance.
personally. If it does something doesn't work out, something doesn't work out. Like I think the worst thing is like making something work out that isn't right and then not talking about it. It's like so much easier to just say like, hey, this is what I want. Either we agree or we don't agree. But I think the other thing, kind of thinking about whether something's a fact or not a fact, I also really have tried to put a lot of thought into, can you control or can you not control? So if it's like someone else's emotion, like if someone is like doing something to you or has they don't like you, they don't have a certain feeling about you, if you can't control it, then you really have to just like try to work hard and get over it, because there's nothing that you're gonna do to fix that.
Yep.
So that's something that I'm always working on, is like, okay, well, if I can't control that person, how am I can't control the outcome of it.
Right.
And you just gotta
either have to accept it fully and move forward or navigate elsewhere.
Yeah, because you putting your joy and contentment into what someone else wants to think or not think, you're not gonna be happy at the end of the day.
It's so true. So true.
It's hard to do though.
Yeah, it is really hard.
It's hard to do. I was definitely very much so a people pleaser. I say I'm a people pleaser in recovery, and I hope that doesn't offend anyone, because I don't want to like compare it to like alcoholism or something like that. But I'm like in recovery. It still comes out sometimes.
Yeah.
I have to check myself.
But I don't think people pleasing is a bad thing. That's my opinion about it. I think there's some level of like, you care about others. You want to make sure that they're okay.
Very empathetic.
You're empathetic. I think that's a really good quality. I think, yes, to the extent that it makes you resent someone, to the extent that there's some sort of other negative thing that's happening, maybe not.
You have to check yourself.
But I actually think that's a really good thing. And I feel like we always call it at Ranavat, we call it like, we don't negotiate with terrorists. Like if someone has like, they have their own opinion and they are, you shouldn't really people please them, because they're just not going to believe you. No matter what you say or what you do, they're not going to agree with you. And that's just not worth your time.
Yeah.
Right? Then you walk away and say like, hey, I don't negotiate with terrorists.
Yeah.
You don't say that to them, but you say it to yourself, and you just say like, sure, whatever you think.
Just pick your battle, basically.
Yeah,
you're not going to
great.
fight this
That's
one.
fine.
You're just going to let it slide.
But I don't think that's like people pleasing. That's just like letting someone do whatever they want to do to keep your own peace.
Yeah.
And then also like, I think the empathy part. So I feel like I have a lot of those tendencies, but I don't view it as necessarily that, and I don't necessarily view it negatively. I think it's only negative if it makes you feel bad at some point. But if it makes you feel good,
you're right,
okay.
though. And I think for me, it was so extreme. And it definitely came from my mom. Like she was very much so this way, and it's just conditioning. And it was so extreme that it did become kind of harmful to me. Like I was putting everyone else before myself. So it was like people pleasing to like the furthest side of the spectrum, you know? And as I've been peeling that off and kind of getting more of a foundational strength within myself, realizing that I need to come first, it's been really helpful. And I've realized how those people pleasing tendencies, or I'm just really sensitive to people's energy, and I'm like very empathetic. So when I walk into a meeting, like I walk into a meeting at Sephora, I can read the room. I know that person is having a hard day. I know that person is really excited. I know that person like doesn't feel like talking, and it's been so beneficial. And it is kind of a form of people pleasing because I can adapt to people's energy and give them what they need in that moment.
Yeah, that's a superpower.
It's a superpower for sure. But like everything, it's just balance, right? It's figuring out how to balance it, how to use it to your advantage without it becoming a detriment to my well-being.
Because I think we all have, I mean, I feel like in these days, like there's so much philosophy or all of these like psychological concepts that we all like know about and frameworks, but we're not all necessarily psychologists. And I think it's like everything that can be viewed negatively can have a positive impact too. So like, right, anything that you're like, oh, I really struggled with X. Like for me, whether it was like being when I was younger, like not having as many friends, like I felt like that. And then I like changed and I found ways to connect with people, like that then gave me the superpower of like, oh, I don't just have to like wait for people to come up to me. I can like actually engage and like create those friendships that I want. I have control over that. So I really do feel like anything and everything, no matter what cards we're dealt with when we're born and what our tendencies are, you can always find ways to use it to your benefit.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Everyone has that, right?
Yeah.
No one's just like, I mean, we would be saints or something like if we were at that level.
I think one of the issues that, well, I don't know if it's an issue, but one of the concepts that becomes difficult in our world is everything is so polarizing. Like it's like good or bad, light or dark, like, and we forget that there's so much in between, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so I want to touch on the subject of when you just started your brand. Like you had this concept in your mind. How did that concept, first of all, come about? Second of all, with everything that you were going through, you had 2 kids, your husband, your lives, your career, finances. How did you decide to do it all?
So the story about how I started the brand, you know, I touched upon it earlier with the postpartum hair loss, but, you know, I think eventually when I think it was mid-30s at that point, I started to really see some changes, you know, whether it be losing my hair, whether it be just my skin not being the way that it was. And some of it was probably due to aging, no sleep, and then, of course, like hormonal changes. But that was the first time where you're not like feeling young anymore. And you're like, oh, I want to do something about this. I don't want to just like be unhappy with what's happening to me. So I wanted to take control. And, you know, my mom at that time was really doing a lot of the like postpartum care, like from an Ayurvedic standpoint. So all the Indian traditional foods that you eat, the drinks that you consume. And I was very open to it. And I hadn't been open to it initially or even with my first kid. So I let her do all of that. And I started to see a difference. Like, you know, she had me eating these like laddus, these little treats that had fenugreek in them. And I like noticed that like, oh, I'd have more breast milk or my hair would be better. And I was like, wow, this stuff is actually really good. So, of course, like any beauty addict, you would try to find, oh, well, where can I get this stuff? And that's really where I saw the problem.
Yeah.
You could go to an Indian grocery store, but the quality wasn't good. I looked at the ingredients, and it wasn't even coconut oil in a coconut oil thing. It was like mineral oil with like a splash of coconut oil. And I was like, oh, so this is why a lot of people think that Ayurveda doesn't work. And it's because it's really made super mass. And the reality is these fresh ingredients, if you really want to use the ingredients that they were using, it's not going to be cheap.
Yeah.
And of course, there's certain things that you can do, but I was just tired of seeing, you know, oh, I'm going to go beauty shopping at this Indian grocery store. Like that's one, that's not accessible to everyone. And two, that's not where I felt like Indian beauty should be. And that's when my background as an engineer, working in pharma, understanding supply chain, sourcing, quality, you spending so many years doing that for the pharma industry, I really felt like, okay, I think I have something to offer. And also when you think of India, you know, a lot of people think about, oh, it's like bright colors and these markets. And, Yeah, but there's a whole royal, regal, like super luxe. I think people are seeing that with the wedding now and all the Ambani stuff. People like kind of see. But yeah, I mean, I think Indian culture is very opulent. And the fact that it was only seen in this like grocery store vibe, that beauty had to be a certain way, I was like, wow, that really doesn't align with the craftsmanship and the heritage. And when you think about the way people consume beauty, whether it's brands like Tatcha or Caudalie or Sol de Janeiro or even Glow Recipe, these are all brands that are through culture. They're sharing beauty through culture. That is something that we've done time and time again. So not seeing that, the Indian perspective, because I felt like the impact on my skin and hair was so significant, I really wanted to change that narrative. So not just creating something that was mass, I wanted to really create something that spoke to the luxe ingredients, like that showed a different perspective. Like if I was going to do something, I also want to prove multiple points, not just like one thing. So I really wanted to make it more than just, oh, here, you know, slap on this cream that has a couple marketing ingredients and a little turmeric in it. Actually, you know, everything is made in India. We're using ingredients that you can't find here. We're using techniques that you don't have here. So there's all of that. We're building something that will tell our story for hopefully a very long time. And the goal is for other cultures to also connect. And we launched, you know, 2017. There was a huge, you know, push in 2020 era for really making it just for brown skin. And we never did that. We stood really firm. Like this is just always for all skin types.
Yeah, I love that.
Because that was the bet. Like if I felt like we were going to then make it about Indian people all over again, I'm like, well, now we're just like putting ourselves in a bucket again. Like the point is, of course, Indian people know there's value in all of these things, but the point is for other people to realize that Indian people can also be aspirational. We have so many things in our culture that you can look to that will work on everyone's skin and hair. So, and we've done that in beauty.
It's been working amazing for me. And I'm Latina, so
I love to hear that. And if you look at the Ranavat team, like we have, you know, people from all different cultures and different backgrounds, and they connect with it too. So that's really the goal. It's always been like, not just like singular, okay, great, like let's uplift one of us and bring someone down. It's like, let's all connect around beauty and elevate ourselves.
I love that. I love that. And you know what? Really resonate with that because it's the same thing for me. I've always been told, no, you're a brown girl brand. You're a brown girl brand. But I'm not. I'm not just for Indians. I created my products working with Southeast Asian skin tones all around the world. I was in Mexico one day. I was in Canada one day. I worked on so many different skin tones that I agree with you. It's not just for who you made it for or where you got inspired by, right? It's for everyone. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Kind of hitting on your original question just about, you know, finance and how to make, I mean, honestly, when you're so passionate about something, you're not really thinking about the downside, which I'm kind of glad I didn't, but I was just so driven, and I'm very like, when it comes to finances, like I am very conservative. So I kind of will only spend what I need to spend, but I'm very crafty. So it's like, if I need to get something done, I know how to make it happen.
That's the Indian.
Yeah.
That's the Indian in you.
I have that like Gujarati gene. Maybe it's from my dad, but I know how to make a little go a long way. So my whole line was like $30,000 to start.
Wow.
And I used my like Lehman Brothers savings to start it. And we lost money for 3 years, but it wasn't a lot of money. I think probably at the peak, maybe it was like 100K, I think. But at that time we were like getting money to offset it. And then I think the 30 was like 300K, but that we had money coming in. So like at the end of the day, it wasn't a lot. So the total inputs, and then in the fourth year, because we've like been doubling every year, it like kind of just in 1 year, all of the, because it wasn't a lot that I was trying to make back, it was a lot easier. So I always kept it like, look, if this thing doesn't happen or doesn't work, like it is what it is. Like, but I was so determined on making it happen on like with the low risk, because I never want to be stressed about money. So I'm like, I don't want to spend money I don't have. Yeah. So that's why I made sure that like, I mean, I was the only employee until probably like 3 years ago.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah, I want to say like 3 years.
I know when we met for the first time in person, when we had breakfast, and West Hollywood.
Yeah, was that last
I
year?
remember you were talking about hiring a new social person. Was that your first social person that you were
No,
hiring?
we have Andrew. Oh my God, he's amazing.
That's
He's
right. You
been
were telling
working
me about Andrew.
us-
You said he was amazing.
He's so good, but he's like grown so much with us. So, well, we did hire another person.
Okay, good.
So he has one person on his team, but he's been doing, I mean, he's like helping us with SMC. Like he's really elevated his role a lot, being more than just social, which I think is interesting. I think about just overall beauty marketing has shifted a lot.
So
And
much.
CMOs, before it was like CMOs were coming from like out of home. They're coming from like different backgrounds, like more traditional media and understanding how to make that work.
Yep.
I feel like someone like Andrew who's coming up through social media, I think that's an interesting CMO archetype.
Ooh, I love your speaking.
That's just like how
that
I'm
was my
thinking.
come up kind
Yeah.
of because
Yeah,
I started
social.
as a buyer, entry level buyer for makeup merchandising
Sephora.
at
Oh, wow,
Sephora.
okay.
Yeah, I've been with Sephora about
So
10
you
years.
lived in SF?
I lived in SF.
Wow.
Yeah, that's where me and my fiance met. I lived there for about 4 years.
Okay.
When I moved there, I was going to college, and I was like, I'm not leaving the city until I get an internship or a job with Sephora.
Good
and
for you.
I
I love
actually
that.
interviewed for an internship and didn't get it
At Sephora.
at Sephora, which I always talk about because I'm like, don't give up. I was so discouraged, and I was like, no, I'm not leaving the city until I have something with Sephora. And eventually it opened up for me. So I started in the makeup merchandising department.
Did you work with Margarita?
You know, Margarita left right before me.
Okay.
But I do know of her, and she's amazing. She's so connected with so many people that I know, especially in the Latina world. And
yeah.
I love everything she's doing. She's
Yeah.
awesome.
This is amazing.
But quickly realized I wanted to work on the social team and was very interested in that. Heard we opened up a studio here, and it was just fold up tables and one individual running the studio. And Allison Hahn, our VP, she I went to her. My boss at the time was like, okay, you're going to go tell the VP that you're leaving. And I'm like, oh, okay. And she was so supportive. And she was like, what brand do you want to go to in LA? We want to keep you in the Sephora family. And I was like, I heard you're opening this studio. Like, I love it. And I started as inventorying product, like doing the inventory system for all the product they had there in like a mound in the corner of the studio. I was uploading video content to our P pages, choosing content for our YouTube channel, but very like entry level I was an art PA on set, cleaned up the sets. Like I did everything under the umbrella. And because of that, and because of kind of that startup culture that we had and my management's openness to developing my role, I went from that to managing our YouTube channel, hitting 1 million subscribers. I launched our IGTV program
yeah,
on
that's
social
amazing.
media. And like my dream was to be the CMO. Like I wanted
That's
to
so
be, and I realized I'm much more creative, and I wasn't really giving myself permission to be as creative as I am. So eventually I kind of started to step in front of the camera during the pandemic. We didn't have talent to film with. So they're like, can we set up a studio in your
so
house?
cool.
And I was like, okay, sure. Like a couple weeks, no big deal. And then fast forward like 2 years. And I had a meeting with my manager at the time, and she was like, how are you liking working in front of the camera? And I was like, oh, I like it, but I wouldn't leave unless a beauty director role opened up. A week and a half later, one of the beauty directors put in their notice, which never happens. No
Yeah,
beauty
that's
director has
once a
left
leave,
since the
yeah.
fruition of the position, except for this one. And so I went back to my boss at the time, and I was like, I literally just said it. Like, I'm sorry, I have to.
That's so crazy.
But I think your openness to Andrew, it was Andrew, right? Your openness to Andrew's position and like the flexibility of it and letting him wear different hats and go into different roles. Like that was so my experience. And I find it to be so beneficial to both the individual and the brand. And it can be really hard to get that, especially in a corporate structure. So I was very
Yeah.
lucky that this was like a kind of startup vibe with a Sephora
yeah, a
name.
lot easier at Ranavat to
Yeah.
do everything.
Yeah, but I commend you for it, because a lot of people kind of remain rigid and they have these ideas. But if you're open, this talent can flourish and benefit you so much.
Well, I think that ultimately comes down to the important pillars of the brand. So your community, so meaning your followers, people that want to connect with you,
those are your customers, right? And then storytelling. So how are you sharing more than just the brand? And that's all happening through social media.
Yeah.
So in my mind, it's like that is the lifeblood of like knowing who our customer is in our audience, and that person that understands them is really going to be able to grow our marketing in so many different ways, because ultimately it has to come down. Even if it's the best piece of creative, but your followers or people that like follow the brand don't resonate with it, it's not really worth it.
Right.
So that's why I think it's really powerful. And then funny you said that about Sephora. I had applied for Accelerate and I didn't get it.
I think we talked about this.
That's incredible.
Maybe very briefly when we met at the restaurant. Because
Maybe,
I
yeah.
feel like I remember you saying this.
Because I didn't get Accelerate. And I wasn't, honestly, in a weird way, I wasn't like that upset about it. I don't know why, but
Because
I
better
didn't get
things
it.
were coming for you.
I don't
Bigger
know. Yeah,
things were coming for
maybe
you.
I was and I forgot that I was. But I just remember being like, oh man, I didn't get it. And I think I was at like a couple other retailers already, like Nordstrom and I don't know, something else. And I was like, okay, well, maybe it's because I already have a retailer. I didn't know what it was. And that was before they made it like BIPOC.
And for our listeners, Accelerate is a brand program at Sephora where they help accelerate brands and kind of lift them up. And it's a very competitive and difficult program to get into.
Yeah. And then ultimately, I ended up just through very random channels. Actually, a founder of another beauty brand called PYT. She used to work at Sephora, the founder of that brand. And she was like, Michelle, I think your product would do really well at Sephora. I'm like, well, I thought so too. I'm like, I've been wanting to get in there. And she's like, well, I have someone, she's not a merchant, but she's in marketing. And I think you should meet her. And I met her and she was like, well, I'm going to get some feedback for you. So she gets feedback and she's like, look, we like the essence of it, but the packaging isn't there and you need to go and rethink that.
Oh my God, your packaging is so gorgeous.
Well, before
I know,
like
but I didn't see it
so
before, but
yeah, so she really pushed me. So she's like, okay, this is the feedback. And that was it. It wasn't like, if you change it, we're going to take you. I mean, she wasn't even a merchant. This was all to like get the meeting with the merchant.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then ultimately, so I spent like 6 months and actually Margarita helped me find someone. I redid all the packaging. I came to these meetings. I would like fly to SF to meet her and present the new collection. And ultimately she's like, oh, you know what? I think I'm going to connect you with Pallavi. She's like, the person that you should talk to. And then eventually I had to meet with Priya and do this whole, and that was during Zoom times, during COVID. But yeah, eventually I ended up getting in, but it was really crazy because when you think about it, it was actually another brand founder, which I think underscores the collaboration that the beauty industry is all about. Because imagine, that's kind of crazy.
It's really cool to see how many brand founders are working together and sharing information to lift each other up. Like, that definitely shifted, I think, through the pandemic, like your timing even.
Yeah, it was really cool. And I wasn't even, like, it was funny because we were both selling at Credo at the time and we were there for a Credo event. I'm like, oh, why don't you, like, because I'm always trying to save money. So I'm like, why don't you stay at my house? Like, and I had no idea that she had any Sephora connections. I was just like, look, you're a founder. You're nice. Like, I'm sure you want to save money on your hotel. You should stay at my place. Aww. So that's kind of how it all happened. It was like, she stayed over. And then I think she's probably like, oh, this person's really nice. Like, I'll help them out. That was like totally unintentional. But I think that goes to show, like, putting genuine friendships and like being nice to people, like, will always pay off.
For sure.
Natasha is such a connector. Like, I tell her, like, that is her, in my eyes. I mean, she has so many amazing qualities, but she is 100% a connector. The way that she meets people and immediately wants to, like, help them, like her Uber drivers, her, like, anyone that she's speaking with, and she'll find a way to connect them to someone else in her network so that they can help each other. Like, 2 of your friends that you introduced, you just saw went on vacation together.
Yeah,
yesterday.
That was so cute. I met
she's
this
just
chick
always doing this
on the plane. Like,
Oh,
literally, we were going
that.
to Bologna together for not together. I
But,
was
like,
going to
at the
Bologna
same
for the
time.
first time alone. I was just getting a divorce. I was so scared. I was like, I just launched this brand. Also, my packaging was good. Was not good. So Sephora also had that comment for me, and I changed my packaging.
No way.
My outer cartons, not my actual components. And so I changed all of that. I closed down my brand for a year. to launch it because I was so young. I was 26 years old. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was like, Sephora, okay. And then getting a divorce, I'm going I'm going to Italy. I didn't even tell my parents because like Indian parents will be like, you don't even have a hotel booked because everything was sold out because Cosmoprof is crazy there.
Yeah.
So I stayed in an Airbnb 20 minutes away, and this chick was sitting next to me, Valentina, and we started talking, became really good friends, and I introduced her to a friend of mine, Roberto, and I just saw yesterday they were on a holiday together. Like, wow.
I love it.
That's adorable.
Yeah.
No, and you're networking. Like she throws parties at her house, and it's just like she's doing it to connect people. Like her birthday, she was like, I just want people to connect. That's always your intent.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you have such an incredible network and resources and people who are willing to help you is because you try to help them. Same thing for you.
Yeah, I think it's so important to be kind because you actually, like, I think it came from really just being in my lowest places all the time, always hitting rock bottom and being so lonely and being like, how am I going to get out of this? And also being like, there's so much competition all the time that I actually don't believe in that. I'm always like, hey, do you want to get into this store? I will connect you. Or because it's important. We need to lift each other up. It's so important.
Well, and it comes back around when you do it authentically, like you're saying. Or at least you hope. But I think I see that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, then there's the try not to get taken for granted aspect of it, right? Which is where people pleaser tendencies tend to fall.
Yeah. I think when we met, I was kind of like, Natasha, you're giving a lot of yourself to people who might not be reciprocating the same amounts. Like she would tell me about some of her friendships and relationships. And I'm just like, you're amazing. Of course, you're always going to want to give that, but it's like finding out who is deserving of it.
Yeah, you gotta when you said you were good at reading people or knowing energies, like that's an important skill.
It's super
you'll
important.
have to develop to like really understand, is that person good for me or not?
You know, so I had an experience recently where I was just like trying to make someone feel really good because of the situation that they've had in their lives, their personal lives. And I knew it wasn't good for me. I'm also intuitive. I also knew. Absolutely. I told her, I was like, I feel like it's weird. But then I also came to a point where I was like, it really doesn't matter. As long as I'm putting a block on myself to know that my heart is not going to get affected because I'm like a softie. So as long as my heart doesn't get affected, but I'm still doing good, if this doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, right? But also just because if I stop myself from doing good, then it affects me. It makes me feel shitty about myself. So I also had to control that aspect and be like, I'm not going to stop being giving kind, presents and being weird like that. You know, I want to be my weird self. And
I've never received so many gifts from someone in my life.
Excuse me, you come with gifts all the time. You just came and gave James like a.
Well, but that's I'm a Sephora
You're
Beauty
also
Director.
Santa.
I always have products.
She's also
I know,
she's
me
like
too.
Secret
I'm
Santa.
like, I have to always.
Yeah. So do you have any advice for people who've been in the same situation as you, where they're like, look, I have these amazing cultural techniques that I've learned from my mom or my sister or my grandma. I want to do this, but I'm scared. Because that's what a lot of people think.
I would say understand who you are and who you're not, because I think what's important, it's like not everyone, many people want to start a beauty brand. And I think that's totally fine.
Many.
That's a great thing to do. We love this industry.
Yeah.
At the same time, I think you have to really work hard to think about what your added value is, right? So for me, it's not just, I wanted to make Ayurveda or these ingredients like saffron and so forth more known. I have a science background. Like I know and understand supply chain and quality and how to make a product. So that's like truly what I'm giving is like understanding that and knowing where to invest. So I would just always say, like, make sure that there's something there that goes beyond the obvious.
Right.
Like, what is your skill and what are you going to add? I'm not saying that everyone possesses something. So it's within you, but you have to really work hard to dig that out, because simply just creating a brand to share a tradition is just not enough, especially in this day and age. Really, like, come up with something that's like your personal story. Like, what are you going to do? What are you uniquely made for that other people can't do? So, like, take it a step further, because I feel like a lot of people come up with like the first initial part, but then they kind of just think they don't need to really get into too many details on like anything else. And I feel like that's going to come to haunt you in the future.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You don't have real differentiation in what you're bringing.
It's so, I mean, I as a beauty director, being at Sephora for like almost 10 years now, it's like I've seen, especially the makeup space, it's like, where else is there innovation? Like James and I were talking about this the other day, like where else is there any opportunity for innovation? It's become, there's so many brands. It's like we've seen it all, we've done it all. It's almost like it's going to become cyclical and come back around.
But that's what I think we think, but there's always room to innovate.
Yeah.
Like that's our job. Is like, if we're just going to accept that people like lip gloss and we're going to create different shades, then like, and that's going to work. I'm not saying that hasn't worked. That is working.
Yeah.
But is it going to work 20 years from now?
Right.
No. So how are you going to really build, like, for example, one of the things we did is with our hair care products, we have like a Veda 4 bond complex. So we actually created our own bond strengthening complex from Ayurvedic ingredients that we got clinically tested. And now that's like our through line in our products. Or like our eye cream is the first like Ayurvedic retinol. So it contains both traditional retinol along with like bakuchi and saffron. And we found through doing that, creating that innovation, we realized that actually retinol is more stable when combined with bakuchi. It's actually better for the skin. So there's all these amazing benefits, but it's like, it's not enough for me to just take any eye cream from a contract manufacturer, sprinkle in some saffron and be like, here you go. This is, because like, that's fine for the immediate, but is that really like doing something different than what everyone else is doing?
Yes,
true.
No. And that's the issue with beauty, because a lot of it comes from the same contract manufacturer. So you're adding a couple marketing ingredients and then you really just have the same base as everyone else. So what you really want to do is like start from the ground up, create your own formulations, own those formulations, have a unique technique that you're using, a unique ingredient. Then you're creating like a moat. So like when people walk into Sephora, it's like if they want the saffron serum, there's only one product out of like thousands of things in that store. You know, they're going to walk you over to our product. Again, not that many people know about it yet, so that's different. But if we were to like just create a vitamin C, how are we going to differentiate ourselves in a sea of vitamin C? So I think, but it's harder, right? Like when you're building something that people aren't familiar with, like no one's searching for the Veda 4 bond complex and saying that they want it. No one's searching for these things. So I think is always taking the long road and forcing yourself to innovate, because there is innovation. We're not just going to sit here and nothing's going to happen in the beauty industry.
Right.
Yeah.
So we might as well be those people to try something new, to think about it a little harder.
And there's definitely always space in the market when you're taking that approach. Like I think about Natasha Moore Cosmetics and how I think Indian artistry, I don't, let me know what you both think, but I really feel like Indian artistry, specifically Indian wedding makeup, had a massive influence on the social media boom within the makeup industry. Like that social media look
For sure.
is the Indian wedding makeup look. And
yeah.
like so much of that content was like at the forefront, I felt like, of that boom.
Yeah.
And
like the Huda Beauty,
right?
that like thick eyebrow.
But like
The bridal makeup though, I feel like
because that's what you did.
Yeah, for 10 years I was a bridal makeup artist. I was traveling internationally doing brides every 3 days. I loved it so much, but I actually introduced a whole different look to Indian bridal makeup because it was initially like, I was actually talking about this also today. I had a lot of clients that would be like, Natasha, can you just make my daughter look really, really fair and like brighten her skin up? And I'd be like, no. But that was the makeup look at the time. It was like, go really, cake it on, go really heavy.
And try and look lighter.
And look lighter. Like, oh, my daughter's too dark. And I would be like, what? No, this is not
While
okay.
the daughter's sitting there taking that in.
Oh, yeah. And she's also like, yeah, just make me look really fair. Like, Indian culture, this is what we grew up with. I would come in to, my grandma's from the Philippines. She's Indian. I would walk in with a tan to the Philippines and she'd be like, what happened to you? You look so ugly now. And that was just how I grew up. That was like what I was brought up to think. And so when I stepped into the wedding industry and did all these brides, I was like, this is something I'm not going to stand for. So I would actually reject brides who wanted me to do that. And I would maybe come across, maybe that's why I was a diva, is because I would say, no, we're doing your natural skin tone, your skin tone. And the makeup I did was like a lot more natural on the skin. I never even used foundation on my brides. That's how I created my 3-step process. I was like, just a little concealer, a sponge. And the brides would go from, as you know, 10 a.m. to 10 a.m. the next day, like partying and raging, and their makeup wouldn't be super cakey or heavy. And that was something I brought to the table that I felt was nice, and I like that. And
and I feel like there's still so much room in the market for specifically Indian artistry makeup, like your brand.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll take back a little bit of what I said. I'm like, oh, where's the innovation? But I think you're right. It's just you have to be very intentional.
Yeah.
I think you have to want innovation and you have to create innovation, because you're right. It is easy to create a product. And I think part of it is like with social media, you create something that's different texture. I mean, I still think that's innovation, right? Even if it's just like really interesting. But I do feel like you have to very much focus on pushing the envelope yourself.
Yeah, I hear that. Sounds good. That was such a great conversation.
It was. Oh my goodness. So much to talk about.
I can't believe how quickly it flies by. I mean, I can, I suppose. Yeah. I'm used to filming like, in Sephora studios, like 30-second videos. Or if I do an interview, it's like 20 minutes max. Yeah. So I was expecting this to feel much longer, but it just flies by when you're having good conversation.
Wait, hold on. We decorated this guy's office. This is today. Hold on there.
Is this your office?
Oh,
it's his birthday.
Cute. Is this your office? It's gorgeous.
It's beautiful.
Look how embarrassed he is.
Oh my God, you're a huge Ranavat.
Dude, your office is gorgeous.
Cool. Oh, thank you. You guys have to come.
Yeah,
okay,
please.
That was so worth seeing.
Yay.
How big is your team now?
We have, I want to say like 15 or so. I would say it's like 10 full-time though.
Dang.
How does that
we have
feel?
like 8 people.
That must feel so good.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I was happy with 0 people, happy with 1 person, happy with 50. Like it's just it's all positives, right? And negatives. Meaning like the more people you have, the more money you have to bring in and the more challenges. So
I love how accepting and content you are.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a big part of
happiness.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not like trying to sell my company or have any type of goal in that way. So I feel like I'm just happy every single day just to be happy with
amazing.
Expectations are just, I feel like, can be such a negative thing when you have these expectations, you have these ideas in your head. Even goals sometimes can be like overwhelming and detrimental to your day-to-day.
I think it's changing.
Happiness.
So I do a lot of work on goals, and I think that it's the actual goal that's the problem. I don't think goals themselves are bad. So for example, this year we have Year of the Customer, and we have this whole goal around improving and continuing to drive our company and innovation through the customer experience. The goal isn't to hit X of revenue. That will happen. So I know that if we put a lot of energy into connecting with the customer, then the result will be we'll make more money and we'll grow. But I think if you like put the result as the goal, that's just, I mean, if I wanted to sell a lot of product, I would just put something on sale. I would lower the quality of the product. So then that goal becomes like kind of pointless.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I think you have to like create the right goals. And people think goals are the result all the time. I see that confusion happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's
a
not
really
the
good
right way to think about a goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many things. That's going to be the result. Making money, building a company, hiring people, having more opportunities. That's a result of your goal, which your goal should be to innovate, create better products, serve your customer, like all of those things. Because if you do that, ultimately those other things happen. You can't control whether...
And it's really smart, like from an energetic standpoint, like you mentioned energy, like then you're putting energy into the right thing. You're not putting energy into like, oh, I want to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
You're putting energy into what really matters. I mean, of course, you're running a business, you want to make money, but I think the energy going to the right place makes a big impact.
Totally. And I think same thing with like the team, just doing these little things like birthday celebrations or making people feel special. Like that's just, you do that because you care about someone, but ultimately that's also getting us to our goal, which is like,
Yeah.
but if you tell everyone, hey guys, like your worth is going to be defined by how productive you are at every single hour, it's like, well, that's not really going to make people excited to work with you. But doing things like cute birthday celebrations, just because you want to, not because you're like, you're going to be a more productive person if I celebrate you, it takes kind of the fun out of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Honestly, Ranavat sounds like a dope place to
Yeah,
work.
I was just gonna say hello.
It sounds like an amazing place to
over.
work.
Yeah,
I can say that for
to.
sure.
I would love to.
I love doing like industry connects and having people over in our space because I just think it inspires everyone else. Like, I get to see you guys, but the team is working so hard. Like, they don't get to meet Sephora Beauty Directors every day. They don't get to meet fellow brand founders.
Yeah.
And I would love if you guys
come
came
visit.
over because it would make them feel so special and they would feel like they're part of it. That's sometimes I feel, I actually wrote this in a social media post. Sometimes I feel guilty about it because it's like, yes, my name on the door, but like really, I don't even do that much anymore. Everyone else is like contributing so much, but I'm the one that gets to be on the, and I'm not saying that everyone wants to put themselves out there.
Sure.
But I do feel like now this brand is so much more than me and I wasn't really prepared. I never thought that it would be. So sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish that they could be a part of it because, you know, they deserve that too.
I love
we can do
you.
a little masterclass for them, like a cute.
So
little,
that's actually what I want to do. So I'm like launching this whole personal thing, which I haven't even figured out what it is yet.
Okay.
But I want
A little teaser.
Yeah, a little
tell us.
teaser. I want to do this mastermind program, and I don't know what the name is yet, but I want to do my office. So I want to have people apply for it, and I want it to be men and women because I feel like there's a lot of this like. I love women supporting women, not against that, but I just think I just want to create an open space for everyone.
Very true.
Where it's like a circle of just continuous self-improvement. So you apply just to show that you're serious. And I don't want to make any money off of this, so it's free, but you would commit to like a session every couple weeks to do it for like, I don't know, 6 months or something. And you would come to our office and it'd be this circle and you would just share your vulnerabilities and we'd have like different speakers and different activities, and it's just like you're supposed to just personally grow. And so it's your own little board of directors inner circle. Because I'm part of this organization called YPO. It's amazing, and it is all about sharing vulnerabilities to essentially like grow and continue to like reach your full potential. So I'm like, I want to do something like that, but I don't want to make any money of it. But I just want to like create the space and the environment.
I love that.
That doesn't sound too dissimilar than from she does these like kind of just her friends really she has over, but she's very intentional about like she has her no more cards that she created that are like asking vulnerable questions.
I love that.
So we were all sat around here like on the floor on cushions and stuff and just like what do you need? Career, personal, dating, like whatever. And we all kind of like gave each other advice and
I love that.
shared with one another and then like started a group thread. So when someone is like throwing an event, like everyone's like, oh my gosh, let's go. And it's created this beautiful community. You're both very similar in your ability to connect.
Founder brain.
I know. And you're 10 minutes away, so you definitely have to come. And when you're in town next.
I would love that.
Yeah, I would love to have you guys over.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah,
No,
this was
thank you for
amazing.
having me.
We are so happy to
so
have
honored
you.
to be your inaugural guest.
Oh my gosh, we're honored to have you. Ranavat is killer. Your packaging.
Exactly.
Well, thanks to
next
Sephora that
level.
did not accept mediocrity. So I appreciate
The
that.
product, everything is so beautiful, and it's just so exciting to
Thank you.
see it grow. And you mentioned like, well, not that many people know yet, and I feel like everyone knows
Everyone knows.
I feel like
Ranavat.
no one
Everyone knows
That's
your
so
brand.
funny.
I feel like everyone knows it.
don't think that at all.
That's what I meant. Like when you came into the Sephora family, I was like, it was just so quick and natural.
They've
but
been really sweet. Like, I swear. I'm not one to, I need to be asking for more stuff, but they've just been giving it to me. I'm like, you guys are so nice. This is great.
I love it.
So, yeah, thank you for the support.
Of course.
Sephora fam. And I really appreciate you, Natasha. This is awesome.
Of course, I really appreciate you being here and sharing your story. And I feel like so many people are going to be so inspired.
yeah.
So many people are going to
And
be so
learn a
inspired.
thing or two.
And learn.
I did.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes. I love your mindset. It's really powerful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
rub
I'm
off on me.
inspired. I'm
Oh, no,
inspired.
you guys are, got it all.
Thank you.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. Thanks, James.
can
MVP
find me
back there.
at Ranavat on social media or my new Michelle Ranavat page, which is so. exciting and new. And then of course our products are sold at every single Sephora. Oh my God, I have to show, do you know that we launched in these linear things? I got to show you. Hold on. So a crazy thing about being on the next big thing wall, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But you're trying to get off the next big thing wall because you're in a sea of so many other brands.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to share that last year we graduated, but we graduated into like, I want to say it was like 30 test stores or something.
Okay.
Then we got into 60 and as of the fall, we'll be in over 100 of these
This is
doors.
so exciting.
Oh, sorry.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like real.
Your own.
It's like our whole,
oh my God.
it's actually not even this anymore. It's like some other one.
end cap?
But no, it's like that. It's still in that vein, but like, where did I?
Yeah, take some
this
BTS
one.
of this.
And we have like a new shelf tucker. And it
I get
looks
so
chic.
excited seeing my friends' brands on shelves. Like, I get so excited.
It's like,
It
I
looks
can't even
gorgeous.
believe.
Yeah, it looks
just
beautiful.
was like,
Do you just stand there and look
away.
at it?
I don't, but I should. I feel
You
like
should.
part of me just doesn't feel like it's real, but
Yeah.
I don't take it for granted in the sense that like graduating from that wall. I mean, we're still in the wall, love the wall, but you know, the fact that now that we're in over 100 of these like 4 shelves, like that to
Epic.
me feels like
That's
wow,
amazing.
that's kind of real.
Epic.
That's
But also
so cool.
like now we have something to lose because I want to continue to grow. So I'm just keeping
I know,
hope
isn't
that like
that-
we're gonna continue
You've
on.
got
But
this.
again, that's something that I can't
You've got
control.
a good
I just gotta
team.
put in the work. So.
Yeah.
Good products. Yeah, you're going to do. So to wrap up our conversation with Michelle Ranavat, to summarize our conversation with Michelle Ranavat, I guess we come to the conclusion of her being super peaceful, super inspiring, and she is aspirational.
Super.
Super aspirational.
I
She's
was
gorgeous.
literally like trying to rub her on me.
Yeah. Okay, then. No, but yeah, she's
her energy.
Her energy is so amazing, and her kindness comes through really clearly.
Yeah.
And it was just such a beautiful conversation.
And I think something that I took away too is so cool is like just how many brand founders, especially seeing them at Sephora, and I think Sephora facilitates this too, like really helps brand founders come together and lift each other up. And like, it didn't used to be like that.
Really?
No, I don't think so. Like it's,
Well, I mean, I thought you meant within the Sephora community, but
just
like
in
just
general,
in general,
in the beauty
yeah.
industry.
In the beauty industry, people,
hasn't
it's
always
been
been
really
like that.
tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know for me, I'm always trying to lift other people up, but it's so nice to see other people doing that too.
Yep.
And supporting each other and hearing her story of how another brand founder was basically one of the reasons why she got into Sephora. Like that is so powerful. So if that doesn't send you a message of just spreading kindness and uplifting people, then I don't know what would, that is
There's a lot
so
to take
powerful.
there's a lot to take away from what she shared.
Yeah,
for sure.
definitely.
So obviously, let us know what you think. Give us some love, of course, and you can always find us. We don't really need to say all that.
Yeah, I was
right?
gonna
'Cause
say,
it's
should we
like
say it?
they're
Do you
already
guys want us
watching
to say it
We
again?
want to our socials.
Our socials, yes.
We're figuring this out.
Yeah.
So
We're going to keep this all in here so
This
that
is
you
like
know how raw and real this is.
this is like when I started the video program at Sephora. I would like every YouTube video be like and subscribe at the end, and like no one really does.
But you
that
should
anymore.
already know to please like and subscribe at the end.
Yes. Okay. So, anyways, follow us on our socials.
Please follow us.
At The Beauty Manifest, because we will let you know when new episodes are launching. We have a lot of fun content and a lot of our feelings as well to share there. It's we really want to build a community where we can all connect and support each other and be vulnerable. So follow us, get involved, and we love you.
We love you and we'll see you soon. And stay raw and real
Stay
always.
raw and real.